Hey Panthers, we are taking a look at section 12.5. So previously we have looked at inequalities. We have determined if they were a closed circle, an open circle. We were graphing them. We took a look at words that would signify whether we have a less than symbol or a greater symbol, or a less than or greater than symbols. And so this lesson we're taking a look at something that we've really had quite a bit of practice with equations, but we're looking a little bit differently today. Instead of equal signs, we have inequalities. So obviously remember, when we have inequalities, there's no one answer. There is a solution set of many answers, and so we're going to find that solution set and then graph them today. But these probably kind of look to you like multi-step equations, hopefully. And that is basically how we treat them at this point for adding and subtracting. So our learning target for today, you will be able to solve inequalities by adding or subtracting. Keep in mind, you can find solution sets of inequalities the same way you find solutions of equations. So this is going to be kind of some great review from our equation unit. Please take a look at example 1. The directions say to solve, and then we are graphing each solution set. So grab your pencil. What I would like you to do, as we did with equations, draw your line down your inequality sign. We want our variables to the left, and on the left we have n, and we have next to n this minus 7. Okay? So we want to get n alone, so the inverse of subtracting 7 is adding 7. And Panthers, if I add 7 to one side, I must add it to the other. So our inverse operations cancel out, and we're just left with n. And on the other side we have 15 plus 7, which is 22. Now again, we're not talking about equations here, we have inequalities. So when you're adding and subtracting, that's key, it's going to come in the near future. When you're adding and subtracting, you just bring your inequality sign down. And that's it, really. So graphing, I'm going to pick number 22 on my number line. I have the half equal sign, so that means my circle is closed because 22 is a possible answer. And if I read it left to right, n is less than 22. Less than goes to the left. And again, make sure you have your arrows to show that the answers, the solution set, continues to the left. And letter B. Again, draw your line down your inequality. We want to get a alone. So next to a we have adding 10. The inverse of adding 10 is subtracting 10. And Panthers, if I subtract 10 from one side, I must do it to the other. My inverse operations cancel out, and I'm left with just a. And on the right hand side I have 3 minus 10, which is negative 7. And because I'm adding or subtracting, I can just bring my variable, my inequality, down. So this reads a is greater than negative 7. I'm going to graph negative 7 on my number line. Again, a is greater. Oh, sorry. Backtrack. I have no half equal sign there, so negative 7 is not an answer to the solution set. So it's an open circle, and a is greater than greater goes to the right. Don't forget your arrows. Okay, continuing on for example 2. We have n plus 17 is greater than 15. So start by drawing your line. Our variables on the left. We're also adding 17. The inverse of adding 17 is subtracting 17. If I do it to one side, I must? Okay. My inverse operations cancel each other out, and I'm left with n. And 15 minus 17 is? Negative 2. Now again, if you take a look at the inverse operations that we just did, we did adding or subtract. Therefore, all I have to do is bring down my inequality, and we get n is greater than negative 2. For your graphing, go ahead and graph negative 2. Is it open or closed? Open, as negative 2 is not a solution. And n is greater. Greater's to the right. Greater to the right. And there's your answer. Letter B, same thing. Draw your line. Our variable's already on the left. Here we're subtracting 12, so you need to add 12. If I add 12 to one side, I must. Okay. My inverse operations cancel out. I'm left with a on the right. On the left, on the right, negative 3 plus 12 is 9. And again, my inverse operations, all I did was add, and therefore all I need to do is bring down my inequality. I'm going to graph my 9. Open or close circle? It's closed because we have this equal sign, and therefore 9 is part of the solution set. Make sure you're really coloring in your circles and making them large enough to see. And a is less than is to the left. Again, make sure your lines are nice and dark. And again, you must have your arrows. Letter C. K minus 22 is greater than or equal to negative 10. K is already on the left, so we need to get rid of the minus 22. The inverse of subtracting 22 is adding 22. I'm going to do that to both sides. Again, reminder, hopefully you're not finding the need to use a calculator. However, please continue the use of your calculators. My inverse operations cancel out. We're left with K. We have negative 10 plus positive 22. That leaves us with 12. And again, for my inverse operations, we did adding, and therefore I can just bring my inequality down. I'm going to graph my 12. Open or close circle? Closed, because we have this equal sign, so 12 is part of the solution set. And K is greater, so greater's to the right. And letter D, my variable's already on the left. The inverse of adding 2 is? I'm going to do it to both sides. My inverses cancel out. I'm left with A on the left. A negative 7 and a negative 2. The signs are the same, so we are going to add and get a negative 9. Again, for my inverse operations, I did addition or subtraction, and therefore all I have to do is bring my inequality down. I'm going to graph negative 9 on my number line. Open or close circle? Open, which means negative 9 is not a solution. And again, read it. A is less than. Less is to the left. Let's move on. Example 3. Use your cube method. Edgar's August profit of $137 was at least $20 higher than his July profit. What was July's profit? Now again, we are probably going to be writing inequalities that resemble the type of problems we just practiced. Okay, we got one-step equations here, or one-step inequalities. So let's read this. Go ahead and go through and circle the important numbers. Let's see if you can find the key words that tell us what inequality. Hopefully at least. One other word in here tells us there's some sort of operation that we are going to perform. Edgar's August profit of $137 was at least $20 higher than his July profit. What was July's profit? Box your question. What are we solving for? July. We're solving for July's profit. What's a good variable for July? J. Okay. So we have J here. Again, variables are always lowercase. What are we going to do to J? We have July's profit. Okay. There's a key word here that tells us we're maybe going to add or subtract. Okay. Which word do you think it is? Higher. Higher. Hopefully you're thinking higher.
You're really close to 11.
Higher means we're going to do what? Well, we have August profit was 137. August was at least $20 higher than his July profit. So we have July. If August is higher, you're going to add 20 to that. Now we don't have an equal sign. At least tells us what? Is August higher? Again, 137 represents August. Is that bigger or smaller than July? Larger. At least, does that include the same amount? You should have your equal sign. Okay. And then you would just go ahead and solve it like we just did. Okay. I want you to solve it. I'm not going to do it on here just to preserve some time, but at least you have the equation done. Then take a look at example 4. There are dogs and cats in a kennel. There are 31 dogs in the kennel. What is the greatest number of cats in the kennel if there are at most a total of 48 animals in the kennel? Okay. Go through and circle some important numbers. Do you see any words that signify an inequality? Hopefully at most. Now just stop and get a sense of this problem. There are dogs plus there are cats, and at most we can have what? 48. Now 48 is the highest amount. So our inequality opens up to 48. That's the largest. Is 48 a possibility at this kennel? Yes. So there's our inequality. Now we can't have two variables here, so go back into your problem. Is there any number that represents dogs or any number that represents cats? There are what? 31 dogs. So rewrite this. 31 plus the number of cats has to be less than or equal to 48. And again, please finish these two problems, and then also in your notes you'll see the find and correct error. Please take a look at that problem, try to find the error and explain what the error is. Don't just circle it or fix it. Explain what it is and then fix it, please. Okay, have a good night.